Still do 7 NUFC Matters shows for free a week. But if you want to support the channel, there are a few ways of doing it. Hit the like button on each live broadcast or video. This helps the channel grow. Hit the subscribe button and select the all notifications option. Hit the thanks button to buy a super sticker. You can do this on the live chat too. You can also join our Patreon page or buy us a coffee at the link in all of our video descriptions below. We are also looking for sponsors. If you want our latest advertising rates and how you can get involved, then email John at nufcmatters1892@gmail.com. Thanks for watching.
Critics attack. It feels like I've been talking to myself again. But it's the only way you're ever gonna learn. You look back and it's all in the past. I'm dwelling on the thoughts I cannot say to you. If I don't say the words, then maybe it's not true. And it feels alright when they come and say to you, you're the only thing that makes us all believe.
Good morning, welcome to NUFC Matters. It is a live Q&A with me, Steve Wraith, and we were supposed to be going live at 12 o'clock today, but as always, things do crop up and get in the way. I've got something on today, so wouldn't be able to do it at 12 o'clock, but morning everybody, and sorry to all the moderators in the chat who look after our chat for catching you all unawares. Some of you might not even make it, but Geordie Tune for Life is up and about, and so are 150 odd of you so far. If you are watching on Twitter, please jump over to YouTube, search NUFC Matters, hit the subscribe button. It is free. We do 7 shows a week. Okay, Geordie Tune for Life says, morning, Steve. I wonder if Newcastle know that Evan Nielsen has a release clause at Bournemouth. It's one of the reasons he signed for Bournemouth. Thinking ahead, he's a Howe type of player. Geordie Tune for Life, that's great knowledge, mate. I didn't know that at all. And I guess a lot of players nowadays have release clauses in their contracts. A certain amount is bid and, off the pop to another club. But that really ties in with what we'll probably end up speaking a lot about today, and that is, strikers and players in general choosing to go elsewhere, not come to Newcastle United. It has so far been a disappointing summer, a disappointing transfer window for Newcastle United. And the most upsetting thing is that, publicly we are being linked with so many players who then choose to go elsewhere. The Ekitike one was probably for me more disappointing than Sesko, because we chased down that blind alley before. We were clearly given, the encouragement to go for the player, only for him to turn his nose up and go elsewhere. So, that was a bigger disappointment than me for Sesko. The Sesko one was out of the blue. Lots of people online and on social media were basically saying, go for Sesko. He's a great player. I'd never watched him. I didn't know anything about him. And for me, I was saying, well, I've just got to bow to other people's better judgment. But we did go for him. We bust the bank, really, in a lot of ways for him. We were going to break our own transfer record. We bid more than Manchester United. But then when it became clear that the player wanted to go to Manchester United, it begged belief. And it stinks of Newcastle's lack of a CEO, lack of a sporting director, and literally being played by agents. And look, that's where it's gone wrong. A lack of management. Eddie Howe can't do this on his own. Andy Howe isn't capable of doing this on his own. Steve Nixon's a scout, for God's sake. He's the man who goes and watches the players and says, that's who we should target. It's left to the people in the boardroom for a reason. And the negativity that surrounds the club after losing Ashworth and Mitchell, for whatever reason, right? For whatever reason, those two guys left, right? It's left us with this big issue. And the only people that can sort that issue out are our owners, PIF and the Rubens. And it's been it's just been such a dreadful summer so far. Yes, though, by the 2nd of September, it can all change. It can all change. We're not going to have Sesko. We're not going to have Ekatike. We'll get over that. But we might have Wissa. We might have another striker. We might have a right-sided centre-half and another midfielder coming in. We might have a squad that's capable of maintaining a good challenge in all competitions. But it's a big might. It's a big if. It really is. And the summer of discontent goes on and on and on. It's not been good for anyone's mental health. It's not been good for anyone who supports Newcastle United. Even those of us on this channel who like to stay calm have been agitated. And that's a testament to how bad it's been so far. But it could change. Craig Hope at the moment, he still seems to think that Wissa is going to be a Newcastle player by the end of this transfer window. Brentford are making a move to sign Dango Atara, and this in turn could unlock Yohan Wissa to Newcastle. Atara has told Bournemouth he wants to leave this summer, so that potentially could give Newcastle a bit of hope that Wissa could come our way. Other ones to watch, according to Craig Hope, Jorgen Strand Larsen is one to keep an eye on. Don't know who he is, never heard of him, couldn't tell you what he's like at all. Jackson, he is on Newcastle's shortlist, according to Craig Hope, but others are ahead of him, he says. Other names, Watkins, Ollie Watkins from Aston Villa. Could I see Aston Villa selling to Newcastle? Could I hell? Ramos, another name chucked into the mix. Someone we've looked at previously, apparently. A couple of years older now, but still somebody who would do something for us, of course. Calvert-Lewin, another name that we've talked about religiously on here since the transfer window opened. Almost shrugging our shoulders, saying, that's who we're going to end up with. But we need two strikers. The big news breaking from St James's Park yesterday, of course, was that in our first friendly, which of course is tonight, Espanyol at home, there will be no Alexander Isak, and he won't play on Saturday either. His future is unclear, and the decision made by Eddie Howe to exclude him from the squad and from training sessions, it means he won't face Atletico or Espanyol. Willock won't feature either. He's injured, of course. The fitness of Sven Botman isn't known. Anthony Alanga, Park Sung-soo and Aaron Ramsdale are all set to make their debuts over the weekend. The kickoff, incidentally, tonight is 7:30. Tickets for this game remain on general sale. The upper tiers aren't open. That tells you how bad a summer it's been at Newcastle United. This game would have sold out. This game would have been sold out, no problem, had Newcastle made the right inroads in the transfer market and there hadn't been this black cloud hanging over St James's Park about our striker, Alexander Isak. Strange situation we find ourselves in, people. Okay, let me get in the chat. I've given you enough time to post some questions. Jeff Carter has come in and said, how do I feel about the Angel of the North? You know what, Jeff? I never disliked it. For me, it's a beacon now. When you travel from Newcastle to London, it's a beacon. It's a sign that you're home. It's a sign that you're home before you get to the Tyne Bridge. Is it a great bit of architecture? You know, that's all in the beholder's eye. But for me now, it symbolises arrival back in the northeast. So I like it, and I do think that the wear and tear on it now is it's you know it suits it, and it's something that people talk about. People will always remember it. And it is something that people do come and look at, come to the northeast and look at it for that reason. Very much like Beamish, the Tyne Bridge, it's a part of the northeast, Jeff. I can always guarantee that you will always ask us a question, Jeff, that's got absolutely nothing to do with football, though. So yes, I am a fan of the Angel of the North. Darren Lee says, their thoughts on Kenneth Taylor from Ajax linked with the club would be a good signing if it happens. If it's true, we don't lose out to someone else. Again, Darren, I know nothing about Kenneth Taylor. I don't watch European football. I don't watch, the German leagues, the Dutch leagues. Other people who watch the show, like yourself, clearly do. And other people who present on the show clearly do as well. But I wouldn't kid anybody on that I know anything about these players. That's why I don't get involved in those kind of conversations. Is he any good? What position does he play? Is he somebody that Newcastle United are going to chase in this window and waste time chasing only for them to say no or be nicked by somebody else? I guess all we can do and what I can do is wait until the end of the transfer window. We can all breathe a big sigh of relief and then go on from there. Darren Lee says, I thought Sesko might happen until it switched to Man United sitting there waiting. I didn't see this coming at all. The Sesko link was there. Nobody else is looking at him. And Newcastle seem confident that they're going to get the man. The bid goes in and you think this is great. It more than makes up for the Ekitike. He's young. He can be molded. He scores goals with both feet. He scores with his head. Okay. His goal scoring record's not superb, but he'll do for us. And then boom, Manchester United come in. What's been disappointing, Darren, is the media coverage. Sky in particular. Sky, I used to go on and do interviews for Sky. I just moan every time I see them now. I don't often comment on social media, but I was so annoyed with the link with Isak. They did how Liverpool could line up in the first game of the season, and they put Isak in the starting lineup. And I'm thinking he's not even a Liverpool player yet. And I know they're saying possible, and I've been hit. I got hit with Man United fans, Liverpool fans, Sunderland fans going. It said possible, oh, you're this, you're that, loads of abuse. But you know what? It was just so annoying, and to see the smug looks on their face, because stupid old Newcastle won't have a centre forward. We're taking Liverpool are going to take the best player, and since then it's been just a whole load of that this week. Let's remember, it doesn't matter where Sesko ends up. He's going to end up at Man United, of course. We know that now. But what actually the media narrative was this week? You think Newcastle had bid second? You think it was them who bid, not us. And that Manchester United were hard done by because we'd started bidding. It was the other way around. We bid for the player and then Manchester United appeared from nowhere. But all of the media coverage this week, and yeah, they've had Les Ferdinand on, Pete Graves and Keith Downey have been on talking about it. They've had other podcasters on talking about this. But you know what? We bid for Sesko. Then they came in. It wasn't the other way around. And that was the way they were reporting it, as if, Manchester United, this, Manchester United, that. Yes, fair enough. Comment with Manchester United saying the player favours that. They were clearly speaking to an agent of some sort who said the player fancies Man United. Then the other thing that annoyed us was they started going on about a bidding war, right? Oh, they're clearly looking for a bidding war. Leipzig. Well, clearly they weren't looking for a bidding war because they were prepared to take an offer for a player which was less than the one we'd made. That's not a bidding war. That's a backwards bidding war, isn't it? Oh yeah, we'll take less. That's like going into a newspaper shop. Going into a clothes shop, seeing a shirt on the, that you fancy, which is 100 quid, and saying, "Oh, I'll have that for 10 quid," and then another guy coming in saying, "Well, I'll pay 100 quid," and then the guy behind the counter saying, "Oh no, I'll take the 10 quid off her. It was first." I mean, it's just ludicrous, annoying, ludicrous. Just so frustrating. It really, really is. Brian, good morning. He says, trying to stay positive, but not what most saw coming this transfer window. Brian, we thought this window was going to be our window. We thought that this window was going to be our window to spend the cash, and we haven't been able to do it. And that's so disappointing, Brian. As a Newcastle fan, it's so disappointing. Where is our statement, says Steve? Where's our chairman's statement on how we've been embarrassed in this window? I mean, Yassam must be spitting feathers. You would like to think, you'd like to think that would be the situation, but silence is golden at the moment from him, mate. It really is. And because they employ people to talk for them. but we haven't got a CEO. So we're back to where I started at the start of the programme. Jeff says, hi, Steve. Would you like to discuss the importance of misdirection in performing arts? What do you mean by misdirection? A director who misdirects? Can you expand on your question, Jeff? Gord says, how worried should we be that Eddie walks away? It's a great question, Gord, which I don't have the answer to. You'd like to think that Eddie Howe is as genuine as he comes across. I don't think he will walk away from this job at this moment in time. I don't think he walks away this season. I'm worried for him and I'm concerned for him that the team, because of the lack of investment at the moment and the lack of squad depth, I'm worried that results go against him, injuries occur, and that he's left at the bare bones going into September, October, and that he ends up getting a run of results, which means that the owners then make a decision to get rid of him. I would be worried about that. That's what I would be worried about. I don't think Eddie walks away. I think Eddie's got more respect for the club. I think he's got more respect for the supporters, and I think he's got more respect for himself. He will see this, as he's had to see everything in his time at the club, as another challenge, in the hope, and he will stay in the hope that that eventually things will change. But I don't think he walks away at the moment. There's a World Cup next year. The World Cup will determine whether Tuchel is still in a job. And I think if Tuchel loses his job, we've got a problem then. Because I do think the natural progression for Eddie Howe and Jason Tindall and his team is England. Don't forget, Bonner's already been in the England 21s. He's done well in the England under 21s. He's been at different levels of England, of course, as well. But, he's been there with England. And I think that Eddie Howe would relish the opportunity if things get any worse. But at the moment, God, heart says no, head says no at the minute as well. Are you surprised the chairman hasn't intervened to sort the Isaac nonsense out? What exactly are we playing at, letting the big rival going forward get their hands on our best player, says John. You know what, John, I would like to think that Al Ramain has got involved and dealt with certain situations over the course of the last 2 weeks, but nobody knows whether he has or not. All we've seen is a photograph of him walking somewhere. There was no definition in the photograph. We didn't know where he was. People saying it's Matlin, people saying it's this, it's that. We don't even know if he's been to the Northeast. Nobody really does. But in this day and age, you don't have to be in the Northeast. People can, have an online conversation. You'd like to think it's day to day at the minute. You really do. But at the moment, I'd be very surprised if he hasn't intervened. The fact that Isaac's training on his own. He's not playing any part this weekend, means he won't be playing next week. There's no way in the world he's going to be integrated into the squad this week and play next weekend. So I think we are in this position with Isaac until he leaves or until the transfer window closes. Once the transfer window closes, which of course means we've played the first month of the season, then there has to be some kind of resolve. Something needs to be sorted out because we've got to either play him or let him rot until the next transfer window in January. But it's an interesting time. And I do think the chairman will have been involved. Certainly do. TalkSport in the last few minutes. Why are Newcastle fans not pointing the finger at the owners who were at fault for the poor window? To correct TalkSport there, we are. We can see the board level's a mess. Darren, yeah, of course we are. And I mean, yeah, this is almost like a media narrative. They want us to turn against the Saudis, so the Saudis pull out, don't they? I mean, that's their dream scenario. So who do Newcastle end up with then? There is a meltdown, and it hasn't taken long for this meltdown to happen. And it's only a couple of months ago we were all celebrating at Wembley. Now look at us. Steve, do you ever just switch off completely from social media? Says Stephen Chow. It really affected my mood and mindset I was in. I decided to delete X temporarily. And honestly say it's done wonders for me. Mate, I've taken breaks from social media. And because now I am, I've stepped away gradually from events over the last few years. All I do now is support, Age UK and North Tyneside Dementia. And that I do usually one big event a year, but I'm seriously considering knocking that on the head now as well. I'm rapidly moving towards packing them all in together because I've done them all. I've done everything I wanted to do, boxing, football, etc. And I don't think I'm going to need social media. Then this channel is all I need for Newcastle crack because we've got a wonderful community. You guys are very special to me. And I enjoy, chewing the fat with me mates on this channel. And I think this would probably be the only thing I keep. So I think one day I'll just wake up and close Facebook, X, LinkedIn. I'll close the lot. And switching off from social media is something which I wouldn't be afraid to do. And yeah, I'm no surprised to hear that that's helped you. Question: who are your top 5 boxing survivors who escaped with dignity and brain intact? It's a good question, Jeff. Boxing is obviously my second favorite sport at the minute. I think it's going through another bad phase. My favorites were Joe Frazier, Rocky Marciano. I'm talking about boxers to watch. Both of them came through. Rocky Marciano, of course, passed away in a plane crash, but he did keep all his marbles, of course. I would say Chris Eubank, certainly as a speaker, he's fantastic, but as a fighter, he was great as well. I would say Tyson, apart from his criminal blemishes, wonderful fighter. I loved watching him in those very early days. Tyson was always my number one. And Sugar Ray Leonard, Jeff. As it stands, we can't sell Isaac this summer. We need to get his head down and give it all and let him go next summer. I mean, what is going to happen? I really do not know, mate. I really do not know. Will the fans turn on our owners if no changes, urgency, and leadership? This is what people are, people I think already have started giving the owners a bit of criticism. I think generally speaking, I think people aren't happy, and I think it's starting to filter through. I guess let's see where we are at the end of the transfer window, and we'll see what people feel then. But at the moment, it's not good. Jackson, no thanks, says Darren. Yeah, Jackson's, look, he's better than nobody, but at the moment, I can't see that happening. The list of quality players leaving Newcastle for Liverpool is as long as it is sad. Those days should be behind us. Oh dear. Yeah, I saw a message from a Liverpool fan on Twitter yesterday, I think it was. It was on here. I think somebody left a comment. I don't understand why you're whinging that the outpouring wasn't as bad over Beardsley and he was a better player. I said, yeah, but you didn't have social media in the 1980s. That's why the outpouring is worse. Same, I can't see Villa selling to ourselves when we're battling for the same league positions. Exactly. Jackson is the name that scares Mags more than any other. There's a lot of people don't want Jackson, but I don't think he wants to come to Newcastle either. And I don't think he's not worth the money. He's not worth that money. Why didn't we try to take Nunes in the Isaac deal? I don't think Newcastle fancied Nunes anyway, but this deal, if it does go through, Newcastle will want the money. And if it is that he goes to someone like Liverpool, or if he goes elsewhere to another European team, then Newcastle will benefit from the FFP the FFP situation. So I think if he does go, they want cash. They don't want player exchange. Still plenty of tickets available tonight. Hardly a surprise. Exactly. Strand Lawson is a target. He reminds me of younger Chris Wood, but he's not got any real pace and not a Howe player, in my opinion. He plays for Wolves. Steve, thanks, Jody Toombalay. Thank you for explaining that. So there we go. And this, we're now in the bargain basement, and hoping we can find a gem. Would Larson-Wisser combo be any good? I mean, a big man, little man, Johnny used to work back in the day, didn't it? I think we will end up with Wisser. I think we will end up with Wisser. I would be surprised if we don't. The kid wants to come here. And I think I said it the other day, I wouldn't be adverse to bringing in Wisser and Calvert-Lewin, at least short term. We need to be continuing to get into the Champions League season after season, and we can help our own FFP by qualifying for Europe every year and qualifying for the Champions League. But we're going to have to maybe change the remit, go for short-term players who are 28, 29, who got no sell-on value, who can help us achieve the goals, continue to bring in youngsters, unearth a gem, but maybe we're going to have to look at bringing in those kind of experienced players. Wisser's a good player. He will give us another couple of years, which is great. His goals were all goals. He never took the penalties. That was in Buemo, wasn't it? So I think Wisser's a good signing if we can get him. But my worry is that that's gone on too long. There's other clubs starting to circle with him now as well. We could end up with Larson and Wisser that has 8th place written all over it, says Fletch. Don't know anything about Larson, but obviously know quite a bit about him. John McGinn, so Aston Villa first match on Sky. Yeah, John McGinn, again, that's another player just linked with us for the hell of it. Everton, was it, who bid for him yesterday and got knocked back? And again, I don't see Aston Villa selling. I don't sell Everton, Aston Villa selling to us, mate, at all. Kev says, who is Kenneth Taylor? Sounds like a character from EastEnders. It does sound like a character from a soap, doesn't it? Nikki, good morning. Anthony Gordon has already said that if Eddie wants him to learn the number 9 role, he will. I like that as an option. I think it would be a fresh challenge for Gordon. Him and Barnsley is magic. Nikki, I'm not disagreeing with you at all. Look, Gordon did brilliantly for England in that position. He can do it. I'd said Willock for years as well. Willock, when he first came to us and played through like the middle and arriving late, scored 7 and 7. You know, for me, there is options that we can go for. And one thing for certain, Eddie Howe will have to have trained like that for the last 2 weeks. Across in the Far East and back in England, he will have been looking at that, and he'll be doing it again this week. He will be finding a way to win a game without Isaac. And he's going to have to get used to that at the moment. Anthony Gordon saying that, great work ethic. And a lot of people as well are saying that he's come back with this great attitude. From everyone's perspective, Gordon is a different player. A lot of the journalists who were out, have said that in the Far East, that Gordon looks, red hot. So, Nikki, I think that's a great suggestion, great idea. And yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what Eddie will end up. Whistler's now linked with Saudi. It's never ending. Starting to have enough of it, Steve. Bluer than boy. Yeah, that's what I mean. He is getting linked elsewhere, but he wants to come to Newcastle. He really is. PIF funding moves for other clubs beginning to grind. Yeah, it does get on Warwick a little bit. The scouting as well as the management at the top appear more Vauxhall Conference and Champions League. Do PFI have eyes on us now? I'm hoping PIF do have eyes on us now. Let's hope that the chairman is really hands-on until he gets people in position. Where are these links coming from, says Stephen? The media. And this is what comes back to what I said at the start of the transfer window. I'm trying to keep everybody calm. The media rely on us clicking and clicking and clicking, and we are all as bad as each other for it. We all click something at some point which funds the journalists and the radio stations and this and that and the other. And the links come from journalists that come from agents. The journalists have got the connections with the agents, and it all comes from there. And they're all and Newcastle's getting played. We're getting done like a kipper this summer. And we've got money to spend. That's the most frustrating thing. Agree, Steve. The media love laughing at our club this summer. They have. They really do. It's as if we've got above our level by winning the Carabao Cup, and they want to knock us down a few pegs. We need anything for a lift at the minute. How has it come to this, says John. If Gordon switches to centre forward, it'll scupper his World Cup chances unless he rips it up and gets 20 goals. Yeah, it's a good point, Kev. But first and foremost, Gordon is a Newcastle United player. And the only way that he gets to play for England is by putting in good performances for Newcastle United. And I agree. As a forward, he's going to struggle. But the best forwards in the Premier League aren't English. Haaland, not English. Isaac, not English. Salah, top goal scorer, not English. You've got to go down to Cole Palmer, really, for anyone troubling the top scorers, haven't you? So for me, maybe that's the thing that Gordon has to do, for me to do that. I mean, does Tuchel like him? Who knows? Steve, is it true that Andy Howe said in the video he only looked at Premier League players? John, no idea, mate. Never heard that story. Never heard that rumour. And I'll be very surprised if Andy Howe said that on video. I wouldn't know what the source was for that at all. But no, I've not heard that. Jackson Link would buy into. Yeah, and he'll end up going there. If he goes anywhere, he'll go there. And Newcastle wouldn't spend up 80 to 100 million on Jackson. Not in a million years. He's on the list according to Craig Hope, but he's very low down the list. It's as if PIF want him off the fans. Definitely playing with people's minds, shocking stuff. Paul, it does feel like that at the moment, mate. The fact that there's been no information coming other than from Eddie Howe is like a flashback to the Ashley days when it was left to Steve McLaren or, Joe Kinnear or Chris Hughton or whatever to come out and explain what the situation was. And it's wrong. So, somebody else should be doing that. What is disappointing is we are losing all of our targets too. Yeah, and it's becoming a joke. The list is becoming a joke. Who's next on the list? We're seeing all this stuff coming out. I'm sure you all, if you're on social media, are getting bombarded with memes and photographs of people turning Newcastle down. And it's embarrassing. Yeah, it really is. Would you take Dominic Calvert-Lewin on a free? I know he can't stay fit, but this is getting worrying now. I've said since the start of the transfer window that I would take Dominic Calvert on a free. I would take him because it's somebody in, and it's somebody who, when fit, can score goals. I think that would have been a no-brainer. But Newcastle clearly had other ideas, clearly thought they were going to be able to bring in your Seskos or your Ekatikes, and nobody would have been talking about Dominic Calvert-Lewin. But as time goes on, Newcastle United won't be the only club that's desperate for a centre-forward. And other teams, even with him, will come circling and will want to sign Dominic Calvert-Lewin. And that's the problem we're going to have. That is the problem we're going to have. It's not cut and dry that we can just waltz up to Dominic and say, can we come and get your name on this contract because we're short of a striker? That's going to be an issue, mate. That is going to be an issue. So if they think then they're not going to be able to pull off any of these signings, they need to do it sooner rather than later. He's definitely off Danfield. To be honest, I don't get it. Eddie's comments basically confirm it. Ludicrous situation. You must be going on about Isak there, mate. I'm out of sync with that. Everton had Gordon as a forward from memory, didn't they? Yeah, he played through the middle. He played left, right, and through the middle for Everton on different occasions, and centre midfield at one point. Manu would only go in for him if he would accept the terms, which is getting back to Sesko, of course. Would Barnes be a better central striker than Gordon? Well, I mean, Barnes, Alanga, you could switch. You don't have to, when you start somebody in the middle, you don't have to keep them there. The different systems for different games, but, start somebody through the middle and then stick Gordon on the left, put Barnes in for the second half, or, switch Gordon onto the right and put Alanga through the middle. It could be a fluid three. That's the way you could do it. They need to find a way to change things. They need to find a way to alter things. So, it's been forced upon us at the moment. And that's what we need to do. The thing we don't want to be doing is rushing in for replacements for Isak like Jackson, wasting the money. Just need to look at Spurs who wasted the Bale money. Exactly, mate. Watch the canny bit of Jackson. He's close to being a great all-round centre-forward, but he just misses too many chances. Can he get there? He's not for me, he's not for me. And he's a bit of a loose cannon at times. Don't buy a player made after a router, says Jeff. God, that bit of genius from Jeff. Our ambition needs to be applauded, but unfortunately, we're shopping at Harvey Nicks without a loyalty card. If we get Wissa +1 and a centre back and a midfielder, we'll be reached. Yeah, that's true, Anthony. That's what I'm saying. We can only wait until that happens. There's actually still time for this window to end up okay, but is anyone confident? At the moment, I'm not. Villa have just signed a strike in the last few minutes. Makes you wonder if they plan to let Watkins go. And I bet he ends up at Man United. Man United will probably sign him. He'll go to somebody else. I'm not building my hopes up on Watkins. Not on your Nelly. And will Villa sell to us? No. We knocked them out the Champions League. They'll not want to do us any favours. When is any credible reporter going to ask awkward questions to the club? The likes of Craig Hope is, in Neil's opinion, not very good. It's a great question, Neil. Sorry. And it never happens. I listen to all the press conferences, and it just becomes a farce, Neil. It becomes a farce. To be fair to Craig, across in the Middle East, the Far East, he was asking questions, But Eddie's very good at press conferences and batting things off. They'll only tell you what they want you to know. Going into the Sweden squad this season, squad depth is weaker than last season. I can't disagree with that. I can't disagree. Stephen, both magic and comedy, misdirection is used to distract the audience to cover the actual trick. All right, okay. I've not done comedy, Jeff, or magic, so I didn't know that. The media have been disgusting this window, says Mark. They had Isaac sold to the bin dippers a week before it opened. Same with Manu and Sesko, consistently bigging them up. Yeah, that's what I was saying earlier. Let's bring out some new limited edition trainers to distract the fans. Yes, and the third strip. Steve, do you not think we've moved from survival to having the money to buy big, but not the money to pay huge wages? Yes, Stephen, we have moved to that position. That's exactly where we're at. We can't compete. And anyone, Ekatike and Sesko, name two, Newcastle can go and say we've got Champions League, this, that, and the other. But Man United can go, we haven't got Champions League, but with the players that we've signed, we'll probably have it next year. Nobody wants to sign for Newcastle anyway. Look at who we've signed. They wanted him. We've got him, and him. By the way, we'll be in the Champions League. We've won it previous times. Just look at our history. We'll pay you 250 grand a week this season. And if we're in the Champions League next season, you'll get an extra 50 grand. So it'll be 300 grand a week next year. Don't worry about the fact that we've had to lay loads of people off behind the scenes. Just ignore that. But this is where we're at. That's where we're at, Stephen. Yeah, Newcastle can't afford to pay the wages that these teams can. That's all down to mismanagement under Ashley for 14 years. If Howe walked, no top manager surely would want to come in. If the board level is a mess, Howe needs support, which we can all see, and it's not happening. Yeah, it could be difficult to bring in another manager of his level. How does a club go from winning a trophy, Champions League qualification, and thus providing the perfect storm for success to the comparative mess we're in? We're at least a month behind schedule. Answers on a postcard. Pictures can be reused. That could be a photo of the chairman from last year. Media playing our fan base like a fiddle. I agree. Talking about that photo of our chairman. Board level can be changed in a few months. The owners will not have a rudderless ship, but they've got one at the minute, which is unfortunately affecting our transfer window. How won't walk? He'll get paid up. It'll have to be mutual. Can't see the board relieving him of duties when he's the glue currently holding the club together. And the board will change very soon. It'll be good appointments, but way too bloody late. Alan Harrison, clutching at straws maybe, but could failure to land a quality striker present an opportunity for someone like Sean Neve. Relegation saw the emergence of Andy Carroll. I've heard, Alan, again, from people who regularly watch the that level of football at our football club, that Neve's not physically ready for this challenge, and that could kill him. It can affect people like that. Kill their confidence is what I meant. But I get it, Alan. I get it. We're clutching at straws again, aren't we? Hoping that somebody can step up. As it stands, we need some youth players to step up and fill the gaps. Darren saying the same. When you quit everything else, will you go for the next poet laureate? Kevin, I'm not that good, mate. I write them for me mental health and to get me mind going on a morning. That's why I write me poems. If you like them, great. If you don't like them, I'm not offended. You want to push on, but because of a mix of bad management, not Eddie Howe and front staff, and the league setup, we can't. It's all very frustrating, says Chris. Tunami, morning, Steve. It's very concerning. I think Isaac won't play for our club again, in my opinion. It's clear to see. I'm angry that they've left Howe and Co in this situation. Asula, Gordon up front. Dear me. Exactly, mate. Jeff says, I only use X to support NUFC Matters. Thank you. AJ, good morning. Hi, Steve. Do you think this season we'll see more academy graduates come through? We might not have any option, mate. By the time we come to the end of September with a couple of injuries, we're going to have to play people. The likes of Sanusi, we'll have to get a game. Murphy will have to get a game. These things happen. Suspensions, injuries. It's madness. Absolute madness. Morning, Kevin. PIF waiting their time to sack Eddie. 0% success rate chasing elite players. No pulling power, and the fans keep asking top players to come. I just think it's all down to wages, mate. I think Isaac has dropped us in the poop, saying only wants Liverpool. We won't get true market price for him, says Koi Bandit. Would you rather have ham for hands or fish fingers for toes, says the Geordie dentist. Steve, we all thought the days of selling our best players to the likes of Liverpool were over when PIF took over. Frustrating. Gonna have a quick ad break. Back after this. A big thanks to all our sponsors, Skips and Bins. You can find them at their website, skipsandbins.com. Contact them at www.skipsandbins.com/contact. Say hello to low-cost waste disposal with pay-as-you-go and contract waste management. A big thanks to Mr. Vicky's Sauces, handmade in Cumbria. You can find them at their website, mrvickies.co.uk. Email info@mrvickies.co.uk or telephone 01768 210 102. Thanks to our fanzine sponsor, United Group Travel. There are no strangers on our tours, just friends you haven't met yet. 2 crew driver and courier, local family company, 3-star plus quality hotels and no interchanges. Hot and cold snacks and drinks available on the coach, all excursions included. Their website, unitedgrouptravel.com. Email beverly.ugtl@gmail.com. Telephone 01670 632 460 or 0791 666 4174. Just £30 per person deposit. Thanks to Media Arts for all the help with the technical side of things. And if you like listening to us as a podcast, you can go to Sports Social Podcast Network or to iTunes, Spotify, or other podcast providers. If you want to support the show, then hit the subscribe button. It's free. We do 7 shows a week. Hit the little thumb up under the video, which is the like button, or click share to share to your social media. You can also join the channel on YouTube by hitting the join button for as little as $1.99 a month. If you want to become an NUFC Matters member, you can go to nufcmatterspodcast.co.uk. It's a £25 one-off fee. You get your pen, you get your badge, key ring, you get your beer mat, and your fridge magnet and your membership card, nufcmatterspodcast.co.uk for that. And we have an event early next year, 13th of February 2026, an evening with Beardsley, Waddle and Gascoigne takes place at the Tyne Theatre and Opera House. To buy your tickets for that event, go to the box office 0191 243 1171 or Tyne Theatre and Opera House.uk. Okay, don't forget as well, the fanzine is back out next season. 4 issues for £25. That includes your postage. Go to nufcmatterspodcast.co.uk and order your copies today. We need your orders in by the 31st of August. We've got 61 subscribers at the minute. nufcmatterspodcast.co.uk is where you go to subscribe for next season. All proceeds do go to Age UK North Tyneside Dementia. Okay, only got about 5 minutes left, 5 or 6 minutes left tonight. Nat says, you're a class act, mate, a Newcastle legend. I'm not a legend, Nat, but thank you. Why did you stop the True Faith fanzine? I didn't do True Faith. I did the number 9 all those years ago. You were ahead of the time. Yeah, I mean, look, I did the Mighty Quinn. I did the NUFC Toon Talk. I did Players Inc. Yeah, and I did the number 9, but I did them when I could, and you know, they weren't a money-making thing. They were literally just an opportunity to get our feelings out there. Just lack of time, mate. That's why I've stopped doing them. Simple as that. Morning, Neil. PIF can't win. Each club is set to run their own agenda and look after themselves. Coordination between the club's strengths, the state control argument that they delayed the takeover with, and it's ongoing, Neil. It is ongoing. It really is, mate. Is it fair to say that the saying "trust the process" is now finished? Yes, Paul. I think we covered that on the professionals last weekend. And do you think with the whole media constantly against us, it could put players off? I don't think it helps, Gavin. I don't think it helps. I do think that people see the circus from beyond and it puts them off. But it didn't put Elanga off and it didn't put Ramsdale off. So there are players who will come. It didn't put Trippier off. You know, so yeah, I agree with Blue Rhythm Boy. We need to cut our cloth accordingly. Go for players who are under the radar, ready for the next level. Steer clear of the type of deals Man U and Liverpool are trying to do. I agree. Alan says it's not the fault of Eddie Howe, the recruitment team or PIF. It's simply that anti-competitive rules and the collaboration of a cartel are squeezing the life out of us. And I can understand why Isaac wants to leave, but why has he left it this late, says Andrew, which again is another good question. Another good point. I am going to have to close, guys. I've got something going on in the background and a phone call needs my attention, but managed to do 45 minutes. Thank you to everybody for tuning in. Thanks to all who moderate on the channel, as always. We'll be back Sunday morning for the professionals. There'll be a pre-recorded show that goes up tomorrow. Until then, take care. Bye-bye.